That in terms of climate change, they do want to know some of the facts and figures, because actually they're still confused and they do feel that the scientific debate is very difficult to navigate through.
Yes,
and they do, and so they've been bombarded with information, whether it's happening, whether it's not happening, whether it's human created, whether it's not human created. They look to somewhere like a museum to be able to give them an authoritative viewpoint on that, which is great, and that's the role that we can do. But as important as that, they then want to know what they can do about it. They certainly don't want to go away with just a message of bad news and it's all hopeless. They want to feel that there are some practical steps they can take. And I think this is something that we're all grappling with at the moment. I mean, we are ourselves putting on an exhibition here for around 4 or 5 months, specifically on the topic of climate change. But then that will move on to another venue. And so for us, part of the issue is when you want to foreground climate change and when you want to actually build it into other things that you're doing.
Is there a climate change theme in this exhibit, or could there be?
Oh no, there certainly could be, and actually, while not expressed explicitly in this exhibit at this point in time, for example, these pieces here, each of these can be substituted for a new video story.
There is, in fact.
But this is historic climate change, not current climate change. But that is climate change right there.
Absolutely, there is a big climate change display which talks about climate change on geological times. Over here, what it doesn't talk about the next 100 years.
Yes, that's correct.
Which is in fact relatively easy to do in this context. And as we were looking at that, I was also looking at this, and it shows the growth and, if you like, residence of the massive ice sheets, which have sculpted many of the mountains and the glacial valleys that form our Hudson home.
That's correct. That's exactly
valleys,
what they did.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
But what this does is talk about where we are now, but doesn't look at the forces that are now, if you like, sculpting the climate rather than the geography that are going to affect the next 100 years. And that would almost be a very easy panel that you add on to this, as well as the animations, what's going to happen for the next 100 years.
So we have to work quite carefully in terms of what they can do without being, again, seen to preach to them.
But how you dramatise it? I mean, preaching and that if it's done through text, well, forget it. But how do you dramatise what they can do?
For instance, over in the backyard area, we talk about creating a kind of backyard environment in terms of garden or species or plants or animals that will encourage wildlife into your garden. That's a very simple message. It's one that's been done before, but we do it in a very particular way.
So it captures a dramatic relationship between, you then need to overlay that with an interpretive framework. What is this cat? And I wouldn't have thought it was representing domestic cats.
Well, as I say, it's on a deck. It's got those sorts of things going on. What we find with exhibits like this is that quite often families, it will start off a conversation as they work out for themselves what's going on, and that they will then start to talk about these sorts of issues.
When we deciding how many interactives we might put into an exhibition, of course, is dependent upon how much of a budget we've got to do an exhibition, and also the staging of there's a sort of, in the design of an exhibition, you try to have a sort of rhythmic structure to the way in which they can proceed through it. We also had to think about, there is another issue, of course, is our visitors. We have to be able to engage our visitors, and visitors come to the museum usually not in the same way they might go to a library. They come to the museum because they have some time and they want to see what we might be offering them. So they come for they pass through the museum to see what grabs their attention, and we're trying to attract them here, and it's a tough call to put up an exhibition that basically says we'll all be ruined, it's all over. So we need to present exhibitions in a way that tease out the issues, but help people to understand issues, but don't lecture them, don't make them feel bad on a Sunday afternoon.
The conception of this seems to me a highly successful one, both as a children's one, but with messages for how we break the walls around the museum, which has for a long time been said to be the problem. And so you're giving lots of reasons why the walls are there, but they're plate glass walls. They stop people being engaged with and wanting to, or even knowing what they can do as a result of what they've seen and felt. They need to feel more and be activated more.
The only thing I can say to that is, if you have a look at our mind gallery upstairs, it's largely interactive.
Yes.
You can lay down on mood couches and consciousness couches, and you can put your head into mood pods, and you can actually experience what the mind can go through. And so that's one for a gallery for adults, that they can play and interact with these psychological displays.
Is it
so
successful?
Yes, it's brand new. It only opened recently,
That's
and
right.
it's got huge acclaim. And we're the only museum in the world to have a gallery dedicated to the human mind. So that was very forward thinking to do that.
Now,
But
all the time I'm not wanting to criticise what you do.
No.
I'm just saying
I'm just trying to give you examples of how we do tend to make things interactive for adults.
And with
as
the
well.
climate change message, how do you get some interactive
I believe
dimension
that the
to
same
it?
approach we've taken to the mind gallery upstairs, where you can immerse yourself into a mood pod and experience the 6 different emotions of human feeling.
Yes.
We can also create feelings of what it's going to be like under climate change scenarios.
You can also, I think, probably do the sort of what-ifs scenarios where you have this is the way we're headed and this is what the world will be like, a virtual world.
Yes.
In one sense with climate change, as we anticipated, business as usual, and another one with lesser change, with if we act to slow down climate change, this is what we may be able to do, and contrast those. It's obviously only virtual reality.
We do have a virtual room here in the museum where we can portray those sort of scenarios in a very realistic way. And I think more than that, we've got planetarium shows that David and I have been involved in, looking at climates on different planets. There's different exciting ways to engage adults and children in these scenarios, and I think museums, not just us but all museums, are looking to push the boundaries of that interactive experience with the visitor. So it's not just press a button or turn on the light, but immerse yourself in an experience. Try and feel what the future's going to be like, because that's going to be the biggest jolt to make us act now.
What an end. Thank you.
Yes.